In today's video, we make some holes, fill some holes, and weld some holes. We pull these equal length holes and make them pretty. And I'm sure we'll find some other things as well, probably to do with holes. Let's get into it. From last video, we finished up the main portion of the fuel system. I ran into an issue with that pesky hard line running to the passenger bank, and I ended up using soft line for those two connections after a few failed attempts. Past me is a real Richard to present me for this. Now, moving on, we will pull these equal length holes. I mean, tubes are just really long holes, right? Either way, let's pull them and prepare them for paint. And by prep, I mean, let's use one of man's most terrifying creations, the pipe grinder. The metal was prepped with a 120 grit belt in preparation for Cerakote. I elected to use Glacier Forge to accent the WR blue body. With the Cerakote sprayed, we will leave it overnight to cure, since we don't watch paint dry on this channel. In the meantime, we can remove the old crank pulley and install the new one with a crank trigger wheel. I suppose I should put the crank sensor on first though, we might need that. So I set the gap very scientific-like with a filler gauge. Now on to more holes. These will mount the Subaru coil to the cooling tins. Now that's 3 more holes filled. Now the biggest oil pressure sender I've ever seen needs a home, and this plastic holder will definitely not cause a ground issue that I will chase for days. Again, past me is a real Richard. We'll add some oil feed fittings, and it's ready for soft line. On the subject of fixing holes in the engine, I despise distributors, so that silly 009 disc is gone forever. And a nice cam sync sensor will replace it for full sequential injection. I pulled the cover to line up the internals to top dead center of cylinder 1, and it was installed. The last thing on the agenda before the Cerakote dries is to install the injectors into their bungs, and with that, we pull the equal length holes from the paint stand, a little cleanup on the gasket surface, and the equal length holes are ready to install along with a merge collector. After fiddling with the exact fitment for a bit, these were ready to accept a Japanese spoolie boy. So one TDO4 9B later, and we have the start of a turbo dune buggy. After assembling exhaust, I then had to reassemble the charge intake system for the final time as well. So the 4 unequal length runners were attached to the plenum. I also installed the cold side charge pipe, the 44mm wastegate, the compressor housing, and the hot side charge pipe. While we were working on the exhaust, I had a secret project behind the scenes. I scanned this area by the turbo, and then did some magic to the scan data to orient it and brought it into Fusion. I then modeled up the filter I was going to use. After that, I then modeled an intake tube. This was designed to fit perfectly into the area. I printed a prototype to test fitment and then sent off for a final tube in 3D printed aluminum. This aluminum part was printed with SLS technology and has a wall thickness of 2 mm. It's a solid aluminum part, meaning it can be polished just like any other aluminum part. So 1 unit of elbow grease later, and we have a solid 7 out of 10 polished job. But I feel the slight scratchiness feeds into the project's roots. So we got air in, now let's get air out by installing that downpipe and muffler. To finish up the turbo, it needs a healthy supply of oil in and out. So the oil supply line will help this little turbo sing the song of its people for many miles to come. And that large drain tube will prevent that song from turning into a mosquito fogger. And with that, the major components are all in place. Next video, I get to play electrician. Will I win? Likely. Will I obtain more gray hairs than it's worth? You betcha. Also, open source ECU, like what could go wrong there? Find out next time, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss me rambling about a Volkswagen with way too much time and money invested. Thanks for watching, and give the video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed the adventure so far.